Hi everyone! I hope you guys like the new intro. Napakaganda niyan. Yeah, so you'll be seeing that sa lahat ng IC stories natin ngayon. And let me give you a very kind welcome to episode 66 of IC Stories. And you might be familiar with our guest tonight because just a few episodes back we had them here. And I'm so excited na ganun na kalaki 'no, ganun na karaming nangyari in a span of a very short time na ang dami na nating updates that we will be sharing with you. So yes, before we go on and do that, of course, let me quickly say hi to everyone who's watching. Feisty, hello, Paul John, NBA Panic, maraming salamat for being here. And to everyone watching on our team replay, welcome, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Okay, wag natin patagalin pa. Let me call in our very special guest, one of the founding team members of Fuel EV, formerly known as Fuel DAO. Let's call him in. KB, hello, welcome back to our channel. How are
Hello,
you?
hello everyone. I'm good. I'm good. Mulan, how about you?
I'm good as well. I am so excited to have you back here. Um, Man, you took it seriously when we said come back, don't wait a long time, and I'm so happy that we're speaking again. So, I mean, let's address the name change. You guys have been through a big rebrand, very, very
Yeah.
fresh, still hot. It was just yesterday, right? How has it
Yes.
been? Been
That's
and
actually been pretty cool. You're
yeah,
in fact the first public forum we've come on since we've done the rebrand. So yeah, kudos to
honored,
ICP of Philippines. Yes.
honored. Thank you so much. I hope every time you have a big announcement, you're like, "Hey, we should go on ICP Hub Philippines."
Yeah, we surely do that.
So, I'd like to ask, like, what sparked this change? What was the rebrand for?
Right. So it's not that Fielda was bad, right? I think Fielda, the name in itself, kind of portrayed the vision that we had, that we wanted to be a completely decentralized autonomous organization, right? Like it's power for the people, everyone who comes into the platform, into the community, kind of decides where it goes. And I think that was the purpose we had in mind when we set up the name Fueled. Since then, I think what we've realized is that we've kind of concretized our vision to be electric vehicles only. I think very seriously. We've done a bunch of market research, as you're aware, a few episodes back when you were here. I think since then, what we've done is we've kind of taken a deep look into the markets. Markets have moved as well significantly, right? And I think what's happened is that we've realized the future is going to be electric. There's no way around it, and there's no reason for us to not kind of drive that point home more deep. And what we mean by that is that we want to be electric. A completely green planet is what we envision. We want if our operations to be just as efficient as what we'd expect, from how these businesses tend to run. And I think just kind of giving an ode to that future. It's not just going to be electric. Eventually, it's also going to be robotaxi, something I'll probably speak about more. But you have a bunch of services in the US already running, which are driverless taxis, right? Just imagine you don't have to speak to anyone, book a cab, sit, point A to point B, you're done. It's all completely like online payments. You know, just imagine bringing that to Web3. The experience for you from point A to point B, the travel may not change, but your ability to pay simply, your guarantee of anonymous identity, so your data is completely protected and private for you. All of these things are something we believe is important, and I think that's why we believe the fuel EV kind of more better encapsulates where we are today, where we're going to be in the medium term, and where the long term vision looks like.
I love that. I mean, once you're building out something, you tend to start to name it around what you see now. So it's really amazing that even at the precipice of this, while you're still building it out and still growing it, you're already like, hey, we should also find a name that will resonate with us from years ahead,
Yes,
right? So that's
absolutely.
amazing. So since we last spoke, I'm very curious. I heard whispers that you guys have been working on a lot of new things, new features, and just basically a lot of growth, a lot of scaling. Maybe could you share with us what those are and keep us excited?
Sure. So right off the bat, I think again it was a secret. I don't know how you got to know, but I think
A
the
little birdie
secret.
told me.
I'm gonna find out who that is. But yeah, I think right off the bat, what we've done is we've changed our country focus of operations. So as you remember last time, We were kind of looking at Spain because it was a very close to the Definity Foundation. I think that support was very important. And also the Spain's very friendly from a decentralized organization perspective. They're very open to getting business into the country. So I think while that part worked great, you have to know that they while they have regulations which are standardized, so if you meet those regulations, you're good to go. Cost does become a factor, right? And I think that's when we looked at it, we realized, hey, like, at this point, while that's a great place to scale, and I'm 100% sure we'll eventually go there, starting off from there in a market which costs so much to start with may not be a good idea for us as a business, right? It essentially means having to raise more funds. It essentially means having to involve a lot more people. As we spoke last time as well, it would most likely also mean getting in venture capital investors. And that's not something we're keen on doing at this point, primarily because we kind of want to keep it within the community, within the ICP community itself. We don't intend to, do a SNS sale even beyond the community itself. We'd like to keep it very close circle
Yeah, yeah.
to protect, yeah, just to protect their interest, right? I think
So
it
you're
just made
not
more sense to,
diluted as well, yes, and having a lot of VCs, especially this early on, would kind of restrict you in how you want to go, and yeah, it's a lot, and I love that you want to give back to the community. Yeah.
yes, yeah, I think that was very important. That's been our ethos from day one. So that part hasn't changed at all. Even if there's a rebrand, even if you kind of change focus, that part remains true. It's very central to our thesis itself. Yeah, so I think given that's the case, we just realized let's not probably try to start off a pilot in a country where it might be very expensive to start off. So we've decided to kind of, move those operations to India, a country where I'm from. I've built businesses here before. I've built two. One was actually acquired as well in the space. So I have a good sense of, what makes businesses tick here in India more specifically. And I think especially when it comes to the Uber space, in fact, long back, I remember I was actually given an offer by them. I didn't end up joining them. That's a good thing because I just built my own dream. But yeah, I think I understand, like how ride sharing and cab hailing works. Was that was literally my job profile. There was going to be supply networks, which was, I think, the good context I needed to understand how those work. I think since then, what we realized is that even in India, it's a pretty large country. There are a bunch of states, bunch of major cities. We've decided to start operations in Mumbai, which is the pretty much the commercial capital of India, a place where using shared mobility is probably as central to the thesis as is us being decentralized. Right? It's core to the city, absolutely. And I think that's the place we realize is the right place to start, which is why again you're again the first public forum where we're announcing this. We'll be launching in Mumbai essentially in the next couple of
Alpha.
weeks. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I agree with all of your points. I feel it's a strong start and such a great place to really test out things. I know that you are, bringing in a lot of like your wealth of experience and the knowledge you have, all the nuances that you can only get from experience, right? But I feel like you guys are launching something that is also at the brink of innovation that you need a playground, basically an area to test it out, and I
Yeah.
feel like Mumbai is the best place to do that.
Yes, I agree. And I think in extension, again, all the announcements I'm making right now, you're the first people to hear it. So, yeah, please go spread the word if you can. Mumbai is going to be our first city of operations. We've acquired our first vehicle as well that's going to be out on the streets in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
What we're
By
essentially,
couple of
that's, yeah,
sorry,
sorry,
by couple of
sorry, go ahead.
weeks, do you mean before 2024 ends, or is it going to be more so early 2025?
Before 2024 ends. It's going to be this month for sure.
Wow, that fast,
Yes,
huh? Okay,
yes,
awesome, awesome. I cut
yes.
you
We'll be
off.
launching the
Go ahead.
vehicle. Yeah, we will launching the vehicle. It's actually, this was a surprise, but it's essentially going to have all our branding. So not just fuel EV branding, but it's also going to have Definity ICP branding as well. Just kind of like a thank you to the
That's
community
so
for kind of helping us
cool.
build.
Yeah,
Yes, I think that's going to be super awesome.
that's very
Yeah, and actually, we essentially are starting off with a self-drive car rental service, right? What that means is, Mulan comes into Mumbai, she flies in, she says, "Hey, I want to visit places nearby," or you just need a drive in the city, right? Come in, book the car. We have a platform we're going to be launching soon to kind of make that happen. I think within the next week that should be the case. You come in, book a vehicle for 3 days, drive it yourself. You want to bring your own driver, that's also fine. Go move around the city, move around outside, wherever you want to take it. At the end of 3 days, you bring the car back. There's a standard fee attached to that car. So very similar, sort of like how rental, companies tend to typically work. And yeah, that's going to be the transaction is going to be on chain. So even if it's going to be a Web 2 sort of a transaction, so we are still going to be using, standard Indian payment gateways to start
Is
with,
it like an
just to kind of,
application? Will it
no,
be through
it's
an
going to be a
application,
website.
an app, or sorry?
It's going to be a website for now. It's going to be a
Ah,
website.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll be launching the app maybe in the next month or so. I think it's on our
Yeah.
roadmap.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fast. Yeah, very fast.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Ah, I love that you highlighted that you want the experience to feel like a Web 2 thing,
Yes.
because if you have to relearn something from Web 3, that would really be a great wall for mass adoption, right?
Yeah.
And last we spoke, you had a different strategy. Obviously, that was mainly for Spain and Latin America, but has it changed how you guys are going to market this, or how you're approaching marketing, user adoption, now that you are starting with Mumbai, or is it very much the same?
It has changed. Of course, our way of looking at the businesses has changed as well. What we essentially intend to do is kind of break the business into two parts. So the key vision or the key word here is shared mobility, right? Now that's done a bunch of ways. You could power a bus, you could even like maybe like share a truck to transport logistics from point A to point B. There's a lot of options there, right? That's not what we're doing right now. Our key entry into this market essentially is going to be with self-drive car rental services. We essentially have also gone ahead and spoken to Uber. I know the Uber India president personally, and
Wow, amazing.
yeah, we've gone ahead and spoken to them. So, are you aware of Uber Black as a service? Is it there in Philippines?
The premium.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't, it's
Yeah.
not really available in the Philippines, but I think I've tried it in Singapore. But yeah,
Right.
it's for our viewers, Uber Black basically is, again, it's like very much Grab, which is the one we use here in the Philippines. But it's like premium cars and very fast. I would say, I'm not sure if it's really a difference, but I feel it's much easier to book things.
Yes.
So how are you
That's
guys
very true.
integrating it? Hmm.
Yes. So what we're doing essentially is the car we've essentially acquired and future cars we probably most likely will lease out are going to be in the premium space. So this probably is a strategy we've realized in India specifically, something that's picking up right now. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of posts around Coldplay tickets going out of sale in India like in seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's going
Yeah.
crazy here, and
Uh-huh. Insane.
people are willing to pay like I think more than their monthly salary just to like get a ticket to that, right? I think the craze right in India is of being premium and elite. And that's a segment we've realized is going to grow very quickly. We also have some indirect competitors who are, kind of running a cab business, if you will, who have also started making moves in this space. So we have the market validation that the premium segment in India is going to become very big very quickly. And given we are starting out now, it's the perfect niche to kind of target. So that's the second business, essentially the second part of the business we're also going to be doing side by side, kind of comparing results and seeing, which one does well. So from a user acquisition perspective, I'll touch upon the first business, which is the car rental service. We have a wait list of more than 50 people willing to ready already book the car. We've actually already accepted a booking from someone who's booking it for 2 months, in one go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What
so
was the experience like?
I think it was pretty straightforward. We're still kind of
Mhm.
waiting to integrate payments into the platform. So if you
Yes.
make that payment essentially online, it goes on chain. So everybody
Is
can see the
mhm.
booking detail.
Is chat already available in the app, or not yet? Is that something down the line?
That's going to be down the line. I think chat right now is not
Mhm.
something we've enabled. What you do is you kind of just email, our essentially booking email, and
Yeah.
through that we are pretty much communicating with me right at this point. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions there. If there's any
Yeah.
logistical requirement there too for them to figure out, I'm kind of there at a beck and call. It's a local
Mhm.
number, so I can obviously call them up and kind of help them
Yes.
with the whole thing, right? So right
Mhm.
now the focus is to get this started, get you a great experience to make booking very easy because I think right now platforms that do allow car rentals, they have a very disjointed experience, right? They have one team that looks into onboarding. They have one team that connects you with the host, for example, the car from the person you want to take the car from. Then one that does support separately. I think it becomes very disjointed if the teams aren't on the same page.
Yeah, if it's
This
fragmented, it's really hard to
exact
keep track of everything. Yeah. Have
exactly.
to
I
keep
think that's something.
explaining at different stages.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a lot. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to be better. And I think over and above that, as I mentioned, we've already essentially pretty much gotten our first revenue ever to the platform, right? And
Wow,
how many Web3
congratulations.
platforms? Yeah, how many projects out there today, even on ICP, right, can actually go and
Yeah.
claim that they have revenue? It's a really tough thing to do in Web3. So that is something I
Mm,
think we're very proud of as having like kind of achieved, kind of found a market that wants to do this.
mhm.
And on the second part of the business, which is the Uber Black sort of the model, it's still being piloted in India. So thanks to my reference with the Uber executive that I was in touch with, we've
Yeah.
gotten the approval to put up our car there. We're still
Oh,
figuring out
wow.
those logistics. Yeah, we won't probably start off with that right away. We'll first kind of
Mhm.
focus on the self-drive car rental service. Maybe the fleet can be divided into two parts, right? One fleet that does only self-drive, one fleet that only does Uber. And on
Yeah.
Uber, I'm completely not worried about my distribution, right? Because Uber takes
Mhm.
care of all my distribution problems. So we kind of want
Yes.
to piggy bank on that and take
Mhm.
advantage of the network they've built. Eventually,
Mhm.
learning from the in out how they've built the network, because I think a long term vision for us would be to compete with Uber as well.
Yes. That's amazing. I mean, I love how you are basically riding off their momentum and every infrastructure they've built. And then you're like, okay, but now it's time to innovate. And that's where you
Yes,
come ahead. Very
yes,
exciting times for you guys. I bet you guys aren't sleeping, but you can sleep when everything is already successful, right?
yes.
So SNS, what has been happening there? What are the plans of incorporation? And yeah, tell us more about it.
Sure. So I think actually just today we're kind of going to update the community on the older posts as well as to what we've been up to, what are the
Yes.
things we've been
Mhm,
building. I think that's very
mhm,
important to do just to kind of
mhm.
set the context for the community that was there back in June as well. That
Yes.
I think this is another lesson I probably want to give the community as well, and I'm sure your audience has some builders out there. Uh,
Mhm.
Never give up. If you believe in something, if you have the conviction to do it, never give up. I think it was very easy for us to shut shop in June and maybe try to
Mhm.
build something else. I just think we knew there's a market here. Maybe we
Yeah.
weren't clear enough in our communication to the community. The community had some good questions. So I think that's a feedback we've taken very seriously to ourselves as well. We've kind of
Mhm.
iterated through that, figured out a bunch of those points that were kind of put up. And now I think we're at a point where we're just kind of ready again. We essentially have platforms ready. We're acquiring a car that's essentially going to be on the street in the next couple of weeks. We have revenue coming into the platform. We actually have guaranteed revenue coming to the platform, right? I think these are very key important tenets to your business that we're very happy about. And now
Good
regarding the
narrative
SNS,
push for
essentially,
sure. Yeah.
sorry.
Good narrative push as well that we need.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. As I mentioned, I think during the start of the call, we'll have some PR coming out shortly as well, kind of talking about Feared Law, the service itself. I think we'll kind of club all these together and maybe again go for the SNS in a week or so. Kind of put out a post, kind of tell people, what we've been up to. Obviously, there's a two week mandatory period where people kind of debate and kind of ask you questions. And I think this time we have the answers. I think we have everything we need to understand how to make the business run, what are the next steps, how's it going to go. And yeah, I'm just kind of super excited to go back. I think more than the fundraise and focus on becoming a DAO, I'd like to move operations there. I think that direction, I want to hear from the community more frequently. I want to hear from our investors more frequently. I want to see what they think, kind of incorporate that feedback, because the last time we tried to do an SNS, I think that feedback was super critical. And I just
Yeah.
wish we had that sooner, right? And
Mm.
we just want to go back and hey, like this time around, we have the feedback. We're happy to
Prepared.
obviously get more feedback. We're more
Yes.
prepared. And yeah, I think we just want to just get that ICP's ability to give you a DAO out of the box, I think
Yeah.
is probably one of the key reasons why we are building on this space, right? And yeah, looking forward to hopefully that goes well for us.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I second times what did I say? Is it like second times a charm?
Second time's the charm. Yeah, second time's the
Right,
charm.
right. Hopefully it's that for you guys. Well, I guess this is a perfect time to inject as well. For our community members who don't really understand how important or um how game changing an SNS could be. Could you share how it might or you think it'll impact fuel EV or generally just for decentralized mobility?
So I think it does many things for us, right? We've been building on the chain for a while as well now. And I think thanks to the fact that one of our co-founders was also an advisor, he essentially is building the biggest project on ICP, which is viral. I think a lot of the context tends to come from that technology as well. You know, they've
Yeah.
probably stress test the ICP ecosystem or the tech more than anyone else across like any of the other projects, right? I think
Mhm.
we get very good direct insights from them. And I think that kind
Mhm.
of helps us figure out as well, like what
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
do, what do we not do. A lot of we essentially had a bunch of like advisory calls with them as well to figure out
Mhm.
what architecture we should do. And I think that's one of the best things about the community, right? I remember last time around when we were doing this, people were kind of concerned about it. But if anything, we are actually, and this was again another sort of an announcement, a lot of the services we're writing on our backend right now is going to be essentially made into crates that anyone in the ecosystem can use.
Mm.
And that's something that makes it, something super scalable. Anyone's welcome to
Yeah.
use it. We'll eventually just,
Mhm.
kind of open source it out. And yeah, I think that's one big advantage. The second, as I mentioned, is the DAO right out of the box if the SNS goes through. I'd be lying if the funding is not, like an important thing here.
It's
It may
important,
not
for
be the
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, it
it may not
it
be
has to
it
be
may not be the
there.
key thing. Yeah, it may
Yeah.
not be the key thing, but it's
Mhm.
great to get started, right? Until we get to
Exactly.
a point where we probably like list our token indexes, and
Mm.
before that stage comes in, this is a great period of sustenance for us to kind of go ahead, keep building, keep iterating. This time around, for example, we don't intend to use any of the funds to kind of do purchase vehicles per se. I
Yeah.
think that was one of the points that came in last time around when we were doing the SNS. I think we're just going to use credit lines from banks. We're just going to use
Mhm.
NBFCs to kind of give us loans, maybe lease it, because the longer a business runs in India, the easier it becomes for us to lease cars, because that was
Yes.
one of the challenges we faced,
Mhm.
right? How do you go to a new country and tell them, hey, I'm credit worthy enough to for you to lease me a
Yeah,
car?
yeah, yeah.
They're like,
Trust
we
me,
don't know who
bro.
you are. Yeah, yeah, trust me, bro, doesn't work there, right? So I think
Sadly,
this
we're
time
not
around,
allegiance.
yes. So I think this time around, that is something we've addressed by saying, hey, you know what? I think we'll only depend on those kind of lines.
Mm.
This business, I think, even specifically within the Web3 ecosystem, is going to be very unique because it's linked to very real world assets. The
Mm.
underlying business is actually very Web2, if you will. Like there's
Yes.
that you're building a bunch of tech on Web3 as well. I think the goal for that is different.
Yeah.
Like for example, we want to build city networks across the world. So Mumbai is
Mm.
probably a city network where
Yeah.
people can come in, invest into a car. Essentially, we tokenize the car, so we'll sell more than a 10% share in the car. She
Yeah.
gets 10% of the revenue of that
Mhm.
car makes or that network makes from that city. I think
Yeah.
that is what we really want to
That's
enable. So
powerful. That's insane.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Only Web3 can do that. No
Yeah.
Web2 organization can pull
I
off
agree.
this kind of a model, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the key things we want to achieve. We want to bring
Mhm.
onto Web3. While the
Yeah.
operations of the car moving on ground may be very Web2, but like,
Mhm.
the core Web3 around this is that you if anything you're democratizing, just look at it as passive income generation, right? I mean, if you
Mhm.
have you may never be able to use the Barcelona network, for example, and if you're traveling there, but you're getting
Yeah.
returns from it every month. That's huge. Like that's just a great return on investment. And I
Mhm.
think that's also a big pitch we're giving to a bunch of folks, and all of this is thanks to the ICP community, the ICP chain itself, whose tech has been really strong for us to kind of use. And yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, there are just so many exciting features that you are also working on now, and so many things that you guys are going to be adding a lot. And you've been mentioning across this AMA and even in the previous one that we had how just important the community feedback has been. So I'm gonna throw some community questions at you, starting with
Sure.
the same theme. So this one is from Miles Morales. What role does community feedback play in shaping the features and priorities of Fuel EV? I know that the DAO and even being integrating SNS is basically giving power back to the community. But now, while you are still building it, what could you give like specific or more specific examples as to the community said this and so we did A, B, and C?
Right. I think I'll just go back to one of the points we were just discussing, which is around car acquisition.
The car,
So
yeah.
we as a company never intended to, acquire like a 200 cars, right? That was never the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's never financially sustainable, and you're looking at a very long period of you trying to make that return back.
Mm.
Although I think in the last time we were trying to do the SNS, we did intend to acquire a fleet of ten vehicles to kind of
Mhm.
do our pilot and kind of just learn, how
The
how the
testing.
business
Yeah.
works precisely.
Mhm.
But that still costs funds, right? I mean, like 10 cars also
Yeah.
cost money that could have probably gone into salaries, could have gone into marketing, could have gone into
Yeah.
operations, could have gone into a bunch of stuff. I think that was
Correct.
a very direct community feedback that was very close to our heart. Obviously, not all like the feedback is good or bad is not important, but obviously hurts if it's not good. I think, but you still
Mm.
kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
we still kind of listen to it. You can't deny that the
Mm.
question was not relevant. The question was very relevant, and we're like, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? That's actually a good point. Why do we try to go out of our
Mm.
way to, acquire, even if it's 10 vehicles? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Instead, what we should probably do is acquire one and
Yeah.
use this one to kind of prove the model. And after that,
Mhm.
anyways, we don't intend to buy the cars, right? We're just going to be leasing
Mhm.
it, and that's only after a car gets tokenized. So
Yeah.
we'll probably open up, for example, I think how the process would look like is that, let's say we
Mm.
open up 4 spots in the Mumbai network, saying we want to acquire
Mhm.
4 vehicles. This is the price. This is how it's going to be tokenized
Yeah.
into, let's say, 10 parts or 15 parts, whatever it is.
Mhm.
People are welcome to come in and kind of invest ICP into it. We're going to
Mhm.
use these funds essentially to then go purchase a lease. We're not going to buy the car, for
Another.
example. We're going to
Yeah,
purchase a
yeah.
lease, right? We're going to go purchase a lease. So there's a certain time period attached to you
Mm.
essentially having made that payment, and you consistently keep getting returns because that car is now making revenue, either on the self-drive car rental model or on the Uber Black model. Point is, it makes
Mhm.
revenue. Now, essentially, all the revenue that the city network makes, kind of goes back to these people based on which how many shares they purchased of the network
Yeah.
overall, right?
But these
And
are from the fees, correct? From
yes,
the yeah, okay.
yes.
Mhm.
So
So, for
essentially,
example,
yeah.
I use fuel EV and then I pay a certain amount. What percentage would be of the fees? And then of that percentage of fees, how much is distributed? I know you said like depending on the shares, but are there any
Yes.
other like paths that fees go to, or can you share that with us?
So essentially, the number of shares you'll purchase will essentially come, essentially the total revenue that city network made in a particular month.
Mhm.
We kind of deduct the cost from that,
Yeah.
obviously, to kind of make that net revenue,
Ah.
because you
Mhm.
there's obviously an operations
Got
involved
it.
here on ground, right? So there are some operational
Yeah, yeah,
costs, like maybe maintenance costs, we kind of have to deduct from
yeah,
that. Everything
yeah.
left over essentially gets divided into the investors. And let's say
Mm,
per share price, let's say, is
like
maybe three
dividends,
five
yeah.
ICP. Yes, it's dividends. It's literally dividends
Yeah,
at its very core. And
yeah,
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 that's how
yeah.
it'll work. That's how it'll work.
Ah, okay, okay. Oh, it's much clearer now. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing that. I thought it was like a fixed percentage, and because I was thinking, is that going to be sustainable? And just a lot of questions popped in my
right.
head, but I guess that makes much more sense. Um, so this next one is from Clark Butler. Um, I know we covered this before, but could you reiterate why you guys are preferring to build on ICP blockchain, and how will it ensure scalability and low transaction costs as your user base grows?
Uh, Thankfully, ICP already does a lot of this for us, so it's not only our problem. I think that's like one of the biggest advantages. But to
Yeah.
answer it more specifically, I think there's something that we've been imagining as the city networks grow, right? So, for example, right now
Mm,
we'll probably launch with maybe one sort of like network, one city network, but we
mm,
intend for that to grow very quickly later, right? And that's the
mm,
advantage. If we don't own the assets ourselves, the only thing we essentially need to do whenever we move to a city network in maybe another country is that you
mm,
just have your regulations figured out beforehand. The moment we do the correct legal setup, we just have to like essentially connect folks who want to invest in the network, go essentially get the leases for those cars, deploy it on
mm.
the networks there, and essentially then start generating revenue and return it to the investors. I think this model we kind of keep scaling up everywhere. So I think
Yeah.
from a scalability perspective on the back end, I think what we're thinking is a like a multi-subnet architecture that we'd most likely go for. I'm
Mm,
aware that Viral is kind of using something similar in their backend, and we've seen it work very well for them. I think they're
mm.
still kind of struggling with maybe the costs on those side of things, but
Yeah.
by the time we get to a point when you need to implement it, I'm sure
Already
ICP would have
fixed.
figured
Yeah.
out. Yeah, it's already fixed. I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll already be fixed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think and low transaction costs for us. I think as the user base grows, it depends. I'm not sure if the question refers to tech only. I think tech is an easier answer to solve. But
Yeah.
if you want to maybe cover the entire business, I think what happens is that our spends on marketing, which I'm anyways not personally a very big fan of, plunking thousands of dollars into doing Google ads. That's never my
Yeah,
style.
yeah.
I think even the limited marketing spends we will do, we'll kind of maybe more focus on eventually tapering that down,
Mm,
because I think one thing we've not discussed so far is the token that we'll have, right? The
yeah.
fuel tokens that
Mm,
will be there.
mm,
The fuel tokens essentially will drive the incentive network that we need to make this something that people just want to keep getting referred to. They want to keep
yeah.
using the network. They want to keep, coming in, right? And
Mm,
as I mentioned, our platform is not going to be Web3 specific. So it's not gated for only Web3 users, right? Any Web3
yeah.
users welcome to come in and kind of like do a very standard fiat transaction. Maybe they just want to pay in rupee or they want to pay in USD or something. That's completely fine for us. We'll still give them fuel token.
Mm.
They may not know what it is in the beginning. They may not want to use it in the beginning, but when they realize
They would
what
be
value it kind
grateful
of
that they have
creates,
it.
yes, they'll be grateful that they have it.
Yeah,
This is a great way for us to just get Web3 users in general as well, right?
yeah.
Don't try to push complex, UX user experiences onto them.
Mm,
Just get
correct.
them to use something simple, get them in a
Yes.
different way, and eventually they'll learn. I'm sure they will.
Yeah. One thing I heard with from my mentor was all super apps didn't start as super apps in the beginning. So, like I mentioned earlier, what's famous in the Philippines is Grab, and Grab basically before you could just hail a cab and just very basic, right? And now you can basically get groceries, get food, have them run errands for you. But they didn't do that in day one, and I feel like it's the
Yes,
same concept for you guys, where you just introduce again, we'll bring you to point A to point B, done, right? And
yes,
then everything else you gradually introduce, and they'll just be happy that they've been accumulating all these points, all these tokens, fuel tokens, as incentives. And yeah, and
yes,
in the future they will, you know um harvest all of the rewards basically. And
yes,
I think
yeah,
in our previous AMA we covered extensively what the fuel token does, and how you plan on incentivizing, how you can get them as a user, and what you can do with them, or what you guys envision that the users would be able to use them for, right? So if you guys haven't seen that yet, I recommend that you watch that episode. We covered extensively everything that you basically need to know about fuel EV, formerly Fuel DAO. So this next one, I guess this next question is a very good ribbon on this episode, KB. So basically, Gifty149 wants to ask, what are your primary goals for Q1 next year, or maybe just the entire year of 2025 since the rebrand?
right. So I think for us, the first step would kind of be to maybe expand our fleet size. Uh, Essentially, this is to kind of, as I mentioned, we have two businesses we'll most likely want to
Yes.
put the car on. One is
Do you
your
have
car rental
numbers in
model.
mind?
How many cars? No, we don't. Not
Yeah.
at this point.
Mhm.
I think we'll kind of wait for the feedback once we put up a forum post, once we go for the SNS. We kind
Makes
of
sense.
use that feedback to determine, like what makes more sense to us.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a number in mind, but I don't want to launch that at this point. I think
Mhm.
it would be irresponsible of me to do that when things may
Just
not work
whisper
out
it
that
to
way.
me.
I'll probably do that on the private chat afterwards.
Love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think primarily in 2025, we'll obviously expand our fleet size,
Yeah.
kind of divide our fleet up across two parts. So one is probably
Mhm.
on Uber Black, where
Yeah.
I think the revenue consistency on Uber Black is something we can really depend on. So that
Yeah.
ensures that investors we get into our fleet can make a return for sure. It will not be a
Mhm.
situation where, like the Indian government comes in and bans car rental
Yeah,
services
yeah,
and we're dead in the water, right? Like that's not going to
yeah.
happen because the
Mhm.
Uber Black model will continue to run. And based on the good network we have with the Uber executives now, I think what we've realized is that they plan to scale up this service in India significantly. And that's
You
not just in
wanna
the
ride
city of
that.
Mumbai.
Yeah.
Yes, not just in the
Uh-huh.
city of Mumbai, right? They have Bangalore,
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
currently stay. They have New
Yes.
Delhi. They have a bunch of these cities where these networks are going to open up. In fact, they just launched, I think, last week. So
Wow.
these networks will keep opening up, right? And that's something we want to capitalize on. I think
Mhm.
in the short to medium term, the goal is for us to be the country's largest, essentially decentrally owned fleet network in India. That's our goal.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
our long-term goal is for this community to be the world's largest decentrally fleet. fleet owner, right? We like
Yes.
the entire network essentially owns a fleet. You may not essentially own one entire car. It says, I mean, if you have the money, you can. But if you don't want to do that, I think you just can invest in the network. But you're a part owner of that vehicle. That means you're
That's
essentially
huge. Yeah.
yes, that's what we want
Insane.
to do. That's really what the long-term vision looks like, right? You don't want to depend on any centrally owned service to kind of give you a car or anything, right? Right now,
Mm.
it's maybe revenue via, let's say, car rentals, or it's via Uber Black, or sort of
Yeah.
centralized platforms. Eventually, it'll just be even time sharing rights, right? Like you may
Mm.
just go, even if
Yeah.
even you, let's say you invest in Manila in your own city, right? I'm
Mm.
like, hey, do I want to drive the same car? I'm going to take a car on loan. I'm going to pay the loan for the next 5 years. I'll have the same car for the next 5 years, right? Do I
Mm.
really want that, or do I want like a new car every week? And you will
Mm.
be able to get those time sharing rights because it's going to go like pick up a new car in a city that you may not even have invested in that part of that car, but because you're on the city network, you just get access to that
Able
car.
to. Yeah.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes,
I mean,
yes,
again, a game changer. I love that we already have the, like you said, the validated need for it. There's already the market there, and we all use it, right? So
yes.
there's a present pressing need for it, and just to sprinkle all of those innovation is amazing. Cherry on top for sure. Well,
Thank you so
KB,
much.
as usual, you have been so generous with your time and with your answers. Maybe would you like to give a final message to our community before I let you go?
Surely build if is a builder, surely build on ICP hubs. That's going to be super helpful for you. And I think the second part is that if you believe in something and you believe it has value, don't give up. Use the feedback to heart. I know it's hurt sometimes. I've been through that myself, so I know what that means. But kind of take that feedback seriously because it will really help you see things more clearly. Like I said, there were a bunch of
Mm,
questions we didn't anticipate earlier. And when they came in, we're like, oh, we never thought of this. Fine, like that makes sense. This time
yeah,
around, I think we're super prepared. We have products in place. We have real revenue that we've already booked. It's
yeah.
going to be super exciting. And yes, I would love everyone on ICP Hub Philippines to, be part of our journey, support us in essentially becoming the world's largest decentrally owned fleet. And I think that's the goal we want to reach.
Amazing. Thank you so much for embedding us in your journey. I mean, like you said earlier, you said it so many times that this is the first time you're sharing it in publicly or at least in this forum. And we truly appreciate you. Hopefully, we get to see you again very soon.
Yeah.
Maybe one more before 2024 ends or maybe early 2025. Always a
Yeah.
joy having you here. Last time we spoke to you with your team, and now I appreciate that you're back here and you're directly answering our community's questions, and again we just truly appreciate that. KB, as we say in the Philippines, maraming salamat. Thank you for your time, and yeah, good luck with the SNS. Hopefully
Thank you so
everything
much,
goes well.
Milan.
You seem very much more
Yes.
prepared.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so
so
much.
happy.
Thank you, ICP Hub Philippines. Thank you.
Advance congratulations, KB. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Ayan, sana guys na-enjoy niyo ang ating episode. So, grabe, sobrang dami nilang updates. Hindi ko maalala kung ano episode natin na kakwentuhan ng fuel daw, but I remember that sobrang fresh pa talaga noon. But yeah, I'm always super excited kapag merong mga ganitong kalalaking updates, no? So, yeah, if you haven't seen yung episode natin with them, kahit na marami na nagbago sa mga plans nila or at least before Spain yung target, ngayon Mumbai na, I think it's still a very good watch. You'll hear there yung thought processes nila, how they're building it, and the problem they're solving. And yung incentives of the fuel token, ayan, dun nyo po maririnig lahat ng mga pinagkwentuhan natin, how you can get them as a user, and bakit ba mahalaga sila or bakit ba mahalaga yung fuel token and what you can exactly use it for. So if you haven't seen that yet, please watch it. And as usual, maraming salamat po for sending in your questions. Ayan. It was a good AMA. Thank you so much, Spitfire21. I'm so happy that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as well. Revenue from day one, it's amazing. Yes, for sure. I agree. Ayan, maraming salamat. Thank you, everyone. Yes, so etong question na to is answered on our previous AMA, so please watch that. We'll have it linked to description. I'll edit it dito sa taas. It would pop up when you watch this again. But yeah, again, thank you so much for Gifty149, Clark Butler, and Miles Morales for sending in your questions. We will be giving you ICP. As our thank you for being an active community member, maraming salamat po. And again, this has been your host, Julian or Modern Mulan, Hub Ambassador of ICP Hub Philippines. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this one and have a good night. Bye.